Good morning. I'm Tim Bardick, and I'm here as a member of the People's Church Sunday Services Committee. And I'd like to welcome all of you to this People's Church Zoom service. A special welcome to anyone who is visiting today, this Zoom service. We hope it provides you support in living a life that's open to new ways of speaking and new ways of hearing and listening and learning about the world and about our lives. People's Church is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association. We're part of a long tradition of liberal religion. Liberal religion means many things. Among other things, liberal religion means that we believe in going beyond science and math to seek inspiration in winged words, which can sometimes express truths that are universal in exploring the particular. Today, we have a special service. It's what's become a People's Church tradition, our annual poetry service. We have many poets this year. It'd be great to do the bios, but that would take up the entire service. So we won't do that. The bios were posted at the People's Church website, and they're still there. You can read bios of all the participants. A special treat this year is that we have participation by Kalamazoo Friends of Poetry, and KFOP President Elizabeth Kerlikowske will be sharing poems from their popular Poems That Ate Our Ears program in schools during our Time for All Ages segment. And this poetry service was coordinated by Leanne Seaver. Leanne has been attending People's Church since 2013. She's a full-time writer, ghostwriter, who says that she loves People's annual poetry service because it's about the only time she ever gets to write in her own voice for her own reasons. I'll now turn it over to Leanne for her to open the poetry service with her poem, Gathering.
We gather to feel something real and give it words. The great tome of each person a poem. Even when the ones we strum and sing and the joy and sorrow are poems, the funny or fussy baby poems, the potluck poems, the poems we dropped because they were too heavy, and we made a big mess and we cleaned it up together poems. Our presence a poem, heliotroping every unique angle of the sun in the vase of a universal poem, set on the windowsill of the world where we can see ourselves and the world can see us.
There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing, there's a river flowing, there's a river flowing in my soul.
If you are lighting a chalice at home, you are encouraged to type in the chat box, "A chalice is lit" in your neighborhood, city, or neck of the woods. Today's chalice lighting comes from 13th century Sufi mystic and poet Rumi. Don't worry about saving these songs. And if one of our instruments breaks, it doesn't matter. We have fallen into the place where everything is music. The strumming and the flute notes rise into the atmosphere, and even in the whole world's harp should burn up, there will still be hidden instruments playing. So the candle flickers and goes out. We have a piece of flint and a spark. This singing art is sea foam. The graceful movements come from a pearl somewhere on the ocean floor. Poems reach up like spindrift and the edge of driftwood along the beach, wanting. They derive from a slow and powerful root that we can't see. Stop the words now. Open the window in the center of your chest and let the spirits fly in and out.
Good morning. In the spirit of the day, I offer this ditty. Roses are red, violets are blue. Whether you can pledge or not, People's Church welcomes you. But as your treasurer, I must confess, if we meet our budget, I will worry much less. As of today, we are at 98 pledges for $228,000 for next church year. That's 85% of our goal. Our average pledge is a phenomenal $2,329 per person or per group. And that's an increase over last year of 12.4%, which is outstanding. If you haven't made your pledge yet, please today go to peopleschurch.net, press the pledge button and follow the directions, or call the church, leave a message, and we will send you paper pledge materials. Thank you. Mute, unmute.
Hi, thanks for having me here today. Children given the opportunity and exposure write fantastic poems. I'm reading some from the Poems That Ate Our Ears contest over the past few years. I'll start with the younger kids and work my way up. This is called Riding My Bike. The wind in my eyes, the air that I get, the dirt on my face, the mud on my shoes, the click of my chain, and the great feeling of my friends yelling my name. By Fred Brown. I am a boy in Kalamazoo. I am a boy getting ready today for class. I wish for hot dogs. I worry about dogs. Sometimes I dream dogs turn into hot dogs. Will you give me ketchup? I am a hungry boy. Oh, by Francis Glass. They are just kittens. One has a blue collar, the other has a yellow collar, so we can tell them apart, but they don't really know their names yet. Gray and kind of naughty, eyes like copper, I love them. They play Finn fetches and Jake sometimes. They wreck the curtains and mess up the shoes. I love them when they snuggle and put their faces on each other's chest. Whitman Bowie Dieter. The girl with the words. The girl with the words burning in her fingers spreads them across the page. She writes with her fingers, not a pencil. When she sees a firefly, she runs and they play tag together. Someone asks her a question. She answers with her finger. She shoots out words with her pointer finger and makes them a sentence with her pinky finger. When she sees a piece of grass, she writes on it and makes a story. She brushes her hair with the word and brushes her teeth with the word dog. She can't talk as she writes everything. When she can't find anything to write on, she writes on the floor. When she sees something bad, she turns it into a word. Her favorite thing is words and writing. Can you tell? This is by Jasmine Williams. I have to be a different person for this one. This is called Dancing in Seatbelts. With me and her, it's like whatever. We blare the music, magnificently drowning out our terrified teenage voices that choke flawlessly over our newly pierced tongues. By Pearl Fire Garrison. Crush-itis. As I walk down the hallway, I feel strange as I see my crush walking my way. The smile, the way he looks, his personality drops my heart to a zero. I don't know what is happening. A breeze of him passes me by, but I don't say a word. The smell of his jacket makes me sizzle inside. The way it swings when he gets ready to run, the way it comforts him whenever he's cold, the way it makes me blush whenever I talk to him. Gabby Mays Van Loo. And finally, this is called African American. I am African American, and I know that's the politically correct term for Black people, but I mean an actual African American, Zambian American, Zambian roots, roots planted deep in the streets of Zambia, roots overflowing with the water of hope, the leaves greener than grass, dancing, and a big trunk thick from food and love. Love. I am told, love the made in America me, but my America doesn't love me back. So tell me, why is my America not good enough, not smart enough, not pretty enough, not white enough? I am too African to be American, too American to be African. I am a guessing game, a colorful flag in a game of tug of war, both sides wanting me, but not enough to pull me in. I am told, embrace who I am, but that is really hard when who I am won't embrace me. I am tired of this. I'm American, just not the real deal. So I have to prefix myself to prefix myself, to hyphenate myself so there's no confusion on what or who I am. I have been branded as an outcast. I have been labeled as a danger. I have a caution sign stamped on my forehead, do not touch, because my clay-stained skin from the streets of Zambia is a poison. Not even the whitewashing can take it away. And to Zambians, I have been scrubbed and washed and scratched bone dry. No trace of the motherland on me anymore. I am submerged, engulfed in white paint, covered head to toe in the image of what America wants me to be. To them, America has taken the Africa out of me. So what do I do now? Because I'm a foreigner in both of my homelands. By Sonia Sikinga. Thank you.
People's Church, People's People are generous people, as Alan has already reviewed the stewardship campaign. And we're now doing our weekly, it's time for our weekly offering. And there's a link in the chat. If you navigate over that link, you can contribute. The offering today will be abbreviated. We're not having offertory music. So if you could just click on that link as the Spirit moves you, that would be much appreciated to support the important work of People's Church. If you could join me in reading the words for giving thanks that are in the order of service. From the countless gifts we each have been given, gifts of life, gifts of love, and gifts of sustenance, we bring these small portions to share in the works of love, which none of us can accomplish alone.
This, our joys and concerns time, I have a poem to read. We won't read your joys and concerns out loud, but still, if you have them, type them in the chat box for us to see, as that connection is very, very important. So this poem is called Monet Refuses the Operation by Laselle Mueller. Doctor, you say there are no halos around the streetlights in Paris, and what I see is an aberration caused by old age and affliction. I tell you, it has taken me all my life to arrive at the vision of gas lamps as angels, to soften and blur and finally banish the edges you regret I don't see. To learn that the line I called the horizon does not exist, and sky and water, so long apart, are the same state of being. 54 years before I could see Rowan Cathedral is built of parallel shafts of sun. And now you want to restore my youthful errors, fixed notions of top and bottom, the illusion of three-dimensional space, wisteria separate from the bridge it covers. What can I say to convince you the houses of parliament dissolve night after night to become the fluid dream of Thames? I will not return to a universe of objects that don't know each other, as if islands were not the lost children of one great continent. The world is flux, and light becomes what it touches, becomes water, lilies on water, above and below water, becomes lilac and mauve and yellow and white and cerulean lamps, small fists passing sunlight so quickly to one another that it would take long streaming hair inside my brush to catch it. To paint the speed of light, our weighted shapes, these verticals, burn to mix with air and change our bones, skin, clothes to gases. Doctor, if only you could see how heaven pulls each into its arms and how infinitely the heart expands to claim this world, blue vapor without end.
At last, a woodchuck waddles from the thicket to lunch on young shoots. The marsh rings with cries of peepers, Easter creatures with crosses on their tiny backs. I want to wind the trunks of saplings in blue ribbon, hang flags over the door. We will clean feeders and brew syrup for the hummingbirds waiting for bee balm and bleeding heart. A clutch of turkeys cuts across the path, males fanning full displays. Under a mat of leaves, tulips nudge up, appraise the light. I tie prayer scrolls in the sweet gum, cut woody vines from trees. Soon a haze of green in the treetops and soil softening. Time for wind chimes of hollow bones, bottles that whistle. Tomorrow, May apples unfurling, lilies of the valley rising, oven birds. Thank you.
Autumn returns. Summer clutches the last of the brown-eyed Susans, a musk on the wind. Our cinnamon ears, our runny noses seek donuts.
If I were a mountain. If I were a mountain, strong and tall, never a cold wind would I allow to reach you at all. I'd let some rain through to grow your food, and so the flowers would bloom for you. If I were a mountain, that's what I'd do. If I were a bird, I'd take to the sky, but I'd rest near you in case I heard you cry, so I could fly to and sing through your window a song for you. If I were a bird, that's what I'd do. But as spring bears the flower to the heather, I'm well aware the time we share won't last forever. The lengths I'd go to for you, they've not yet made the measure. For no matter what I'd be trying to make your life better. If I were a river, wide and deep, you could drink from me and let my current rock you to sleep. I'd stay so calm there wouldn't be a day you couldn't make it through. If I were a river, that's what I'd do. But as spring bears the flower to the heather, I'm well aware the time we share won't last forever. The lengths I'd go to for you, they've not yet made the measure. For no matter what I'd be trying to make your life better.
Thoughts on spring. Too soon the time has come to move ahead our clocks. This year the spring arrives with haste, before the vernal equinox. The house finches gather nearby as guests. Already they are building the nest. An allergy flare pounds in the air. Flowers sprout while trees bud everywhere. Yet the calendar's image shows that of a February polar bear. What does this mean? Is it global warming? What does our future hold? The time will come when we as one feel nostalgia for the cold.
What we learned living under a purple sun. Under a purplish gray sun, smiles slung in hammocks, no need for lipstick. We became trees, patiently swaying below spiked rays of this harbinger of what was to come. Digging beneath the star's surface, we discovered secrets, like how to replicate 1,000 suns. Take, for example, 750 acts of kindness that filled the width of a human hair. Tossed into open sky, they disrobed darkness, orbited us to a beautiful place. We took up residence anywhere, hosted anyone, and remembered, light comes from somewhere.
Spirits. Late March feels like hide and seek in a chill evening. The cottage is home. The stump is home. The spillway's home. Land woven from watercress and tree roots studded with Petoskey stones. We mistake these acres for the world. Mosses we have named, spilled paint, church rug, scab. Here the big tree, bark pocket for secret messages cousin to cousin. Ghost beaches advance on the hillside and disappear above the creek. Each bleached leaf a little surrender. We know the words to the water song, and those who don't make them up. We leap the creek leaps the windfalls and dives under the ones destined to be bridges. Coming home with dry shoes means you're just not trying. The horizon, what there is of it, leads to tomorrow. Our cheeks burn cold, around our pant legs burrs.
The Shaman, inspired by the ghosts of diaspora by sculptor extraordinaire and shaman Brent Harris. Inevitably, though, there will always be a significant part of the past which can neither be burnt nor burnished to the soothing limbo of forgetfulness. Louisa LaGloria. Within a shimmering slice of quartz cradled in a fired curve of cypress, the shaman spirals you back into rivers of shadow and spark, where your people were uprooted, reuniting spirits split between two worlds. You must straddle the slit where sun and moon slice the world into equilibrium, where shackles are scarred memories, blood-red stakes ground your soul, sprout tradition, settle your story into the place you landed. Packing the nutty steam of ribose tea, the tango of Chichinga on your tongue, the rhythms that rocked you to sleep, you straddle the metaphor of you here and the piecemeal of you there, striving for the tipping points that meld you home.
1. Full moon rises. The maple leans over the pond to drop dead leaves, startling the fish. Brown leaves, heavy with water, slowly sink on top of stones, silt, quietly waiting for frogs and crayfish to settle in. Bubbles rise, circles of white. Maple sap slows, prepared by cold bark and stiff dirt. What am I prepared for? A murky darkness settling in. 2. When I hold my hands just right, I cup the face of the moon, milky and mottled. I whisper in its ear, lean over me, fall down startled by the sweet pond water, so I can feel those white ripples spread along the surface of my skin.
A foot-long green metal toy pickup truck with real rubber wheels. That was my favorite present and most vivid memory from my 6th year. I see our gathering that Christmas afternoon. I watch my 8-year-old cousin David silently admire the truck where I left it on the consistently overheated floor furnace grate in our hall. I win our frantic foot race and reclaim my most prized possession. Standing over the furnace, I clutch it to my chest. I feel the wheels melt on the palm of my fingers of my right hand. Through tears, I see my mother shake her head. Boys, boys. I feel her lead me away from the smell of burning rubber by my one good hand toward the family first aid kit. After Christmas vacation, my first grade teacher, Mrs. Bronson, asks for volunteers to describe their favorite present in one word. A dozen hands go up. I raise the hand with my mother's bright yellow latex dishwashing glove on it. Thick, translucent, brownish salve oozes out. For some reason, Mrs. Bronson lets me go first with my word. Hot, I say. And what lesson did you learn from your present? She asks. To be more mindful of my surroundings, I venture. She smiles and nods slowly in agreement, exactly the way my mother did when I said those words to her. 66 years later, I sit in our after-church Zoom chat room at year's end. We are asked for New Year's resolutions. Since I carry with me the memory of one painful Christmas, I tentatively raise my long since healed right hand to the top of my frame. I brandish the single word that will be my double-edged sword of truth for the next 12 months. Present, I say. That is my resolution. Not as in Christmas present, but as in present, in the moment. Present as in mindful of my surroundings. I see men in the chat room shift nervously in their frames. One of them is looking at the leave meeting button. But then I watch women in the chat room smile and nod slowly in agreement. Now I can say with full confidence that I learned my lesson back in the first grade.
Hoping to see another spring moon. Fires churn up the west coast, flattening homes to foundations, turning cars to charred bones. Helicopters swoop in to save humans, but animal ashes fill the air, mingling with evergreen remnants. At the edge of this hell, where flowers still linger, a grizzly cradles 2 starlings and longs for a ride to the sky.
When faced with nouns to be declined, a task that I could never hate, I grab my book or search my mind and note the cases that await. Then there are verbs to conjugate and grammar rules I must digest. It's fine in English, sure, it's great, but I love Latin grammar best. Some students might be disinclined to learn and study and debate the rules of grammar all combined with words and culture that relate. I know not every fact and trait of grammar, but I have progressed. Yes, English is how I create, but I love Latin grammar best. The rules of grammar are unkind to people who are always late to study, so they fall behind. In class, they make the others wait, and sentences they desecrate. I'll say that sometimes I have guessed at questions that made me irate, but I love Latin grammar best. The ablative should be my mate. With certain verbs, I am impressed. Some people think that I should date, but I love Latin grammar best.
The moon is a dream catcher.
I have strange, terrible dreams, but they recede, they disappear, and I can't reach them.
If you can't reach them, how do you know they're strange and terrible?
Because I wake up sad.
I dream about an imaginary city. Sometimes I walk through it, sometimes I drive, or even fly over it. But I know its neighborhoods. It's unsettling, but familiar.
Do you wake up and your feet hurt? Are you out of gas? Are you blinded by the moonlight?
No. I like dreaming, having dreamt. Even when I can't remember details, I like having been somewhere else.
I like waking up to your soft green face smiling at me.
Our dreams rise through us like the moon, and you keep me green and new.
Like your beautiful face. We're 3/4 of the way to our final dream.
I love your sweet lunacy. Our night flights carry us above the ordinary.
Good that the strange and awful vanish. I'll fly along with you in your green dreams.
We'll catch them together.
And bring them back.
I have 3 short poems. I saw a duck in a tree, and I didn't believe at first. This irrational presentation stood me still, numb, dumb. I think my mouth drops open when I don't know, and I say that a lot these days. I don't know much at all. And maybe it's because memory doesn't do justice to anything really. You came down the mountain in flip-flops and a bikini. How was I to survive that? 30 years I tried to harness your rampant wind, blowing through my heart and bones. There was no sense in any of it. And then one day there was a dry, still body shrinking in my bed. All of life stopped, left you, left me. All the air returned to the trees and took its place under the heron wings. The heft of death should sharpen the living. That old raccoon body on King's Highway wanted to be moved to a private place. The roadside hedge makes a better grave, and so I took hold the leather foot and wished its shiny entrails stay. Why should I wish it well, or say a tender word as to a child or my beloved when I lay it down and the weight is gone? I think on sons and bodies held, the breathing and the fallen. Pandemic, panic. Hold your breath, big green world. Not much longer, and you will awaken from this bad dream. I want to promise you, when you stop panting and sweating and dying, you will be okay. Your pulse will slow and the machines can be put away, but you must listen. You must listen and remember, pray to remember this time. From out here, there is no east and west. You are whole and beautiful. Breathe easy, like you're in love or a child tumbling forever, laughing as you go round and round.
Arise, young maiden, retrieve every dream, hail sweet senses in every scene. Be little darkness while virtue alights, and another bird's call shall guide thy feet, saying, A hue thickens in starlight thins, the universe reaches, and our little speck spins, as everything known retrieves its fare, and the good and the evil hearken to man's ends, singing love. A time to believe in moments past, when life well lived its seldom lasts. Yet billions and billions of people awake to every new day, and sunlight bore a single cast. Yes, hell below and heavens above, man as beast and beast as dove. Fragile fortune and truth abound, new breath found as simple as love. Singing love, singing love. La da 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 da
When I met my muse, I glanced at her and she took my glasses off. They were still singing. They buzzed like a locust on the coffee table and then ceased. Her voice belled forth and the sunlight bent. I felt the ceiling arch, and I knew that nails up there took a new grip on whatever they touched. I am your way of looking at things, she said. When you allow me to live with you, every glance at the world around you will be a sort of salvation. And I took her hand.
Well, that's the end of our poetry service. But if people want to stick around, we're going to, in a minute, Savannah will do a postlude. And then if you want to stick around for some coffee and 15 minutes of conversation, the Zoom will divide into randomly chosen groups, and people can talk and maybe share other poems or at least other words. Anyway, thank you for attending, and thank you to all the poets, and thank you to Leanne for all the work you did on pulling together this service, and to Laura for dealing with lots of different cues. Thanks.